The clock arrived at my doorstep without a note or sender. It was an ornate thing, taller than me, its wood dark and polished to a gleam. Intricate carvings of vines and strange symbols twisted up its frame. The pendulum, gold and impossibly delicate, swung with a measured precision that was hypnotic. I hadn't ordered it. I hadn't even wanted it. But the moment I touched it, I felt something shift, as if the room itself exhaled. That night, I dreamt of ticking. It was everywhere, in the walls, in my chest, in the very air. I stood in an endless field of gears, each tooth turning with clockwork precision. A man emerged from the shadows, hunched and skeletal, his face obscured by a mask shaped like a clock's face. "Do not tamper with the clock," he rasped, his voice sharp and mechanical. "You must never let it stop." I woke with the sound of his ticking voice echoing in my ears. The next day, I tried to ignore the clock. I couldn't. Its ticks seemed louder than they should have been, reverberating through the house. When I went to the kitchen, it was there. When I returned to the living room, it had followed. That night, I stayed up to watch it, determined to prove I wasn't losing my mind. Midnight came, and the house was silent. And then, the pendulum stopped. The silence was suffocating. I stared at the clock, willing it to start again, but its hands remained frozen. That's when I noticed the carvings along its edges were moving, twisting into new shapes. The symbols seemed to writhe, forming patterns I couldn't understand but somehow felt in my bones. The room darkened, shadows stretching unnaturally, pooling beneath the clock. From the void, a hand emerged. It was made of gears and wires, ticking with a life of its own. Another followed, pulling up a figure, a man, the same one from my dream. His mask gleamed in the dim light, and his hollow eyes locked onto mine. "You let it stop," he said, his voice like grinding metal. I didn't mean to," I stammered. "You must fix it," he hissed, thrusting a jagged key into my hand. "Turn it back. Undo what you've done." I stumbled forward, my hands trembling as I wound the clock. It resisted, the gears grinding in protest. When the pendulum finally swung again, the man vanished, leaving only the echo of his ticking laughter. The clock now sits in the corner of the room, its pendulum moving ceaselessly. I don't sleep anymore. Not really. Every night, I hear the ticking grow louder, and sometimes, in the corner of my eye, I see the carvings shift. I've tried to get rid of it, but no matter where I leave it, at the curb, in the woods, even at the bottom of a lake, it always finds its way back. And the pendulum swings. Always.